Attacks on southern Lebanon. U.S. strike on alleged drug boat in Pacific kills 4. Good afternoon and salam Malaysia Madani. My name is Daryl Baptist and you're watching World Today. Israel launched new attacks on southern Lebanon on Thursday. The Israeli military stated that it struck Hezbollah weapons storage facilities a day after Lebanese and Israeli lawmakers held direct negotiations for the first time in decades. Although the November 2024 ceasefire was supposed to end a year-long series of attacks between Israel and Hezbollah, Israel continued carrying out strikes on Lebanon while maintaining a military presence in 5 strategic areas in southern Lebanon. The Israeli army said it had begun launching attacks on Hezbollah targets in southern Lebanon after issuing warnings that it would strike buildings in the Maruna and Jabbar areas in the south. The regime later issued another warning that it would attack Hezbollah's military infrastructure in Majadal and Barashit, also in the south of the country. Lebanon's national news agency reported that Israeli aircraft launched a strike on the town of Maruna, while other attacks targeted buildings in Jabbar, Majadal and Barashit. The U.S. military said a strike on an alleged drug trafficking boat in the eastern Pacific killed 4 people on Thursday amid a growing controversy over a campaign that has taken more than 87 lives. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, and President Donald Trump's administration have especially come under fire over an incident in early September in which U.S. forces targeted the wreckage of a vessel that had already been hit, killing 2 survivors. A senior Democratic lawmaker who saw footage of that incident on Thursday said it showed a U.S. attack on shipwrecked sailors, while others have described it as a possible war crime. The latest strike targeted a vessel in international waters operated by a designated terrorist organization. Intelligence confirmed that the vessel was carrying illicit narcotics and transiting along a known narco-trafficking route in the eastern Pacific. Regional tensions have flared as a result of the strikes and the military buildup, with Venezuela's leftist leader, Nicolas Maduro, accusing Washington of using drug trafficking as a pretext for imposing regime change in Caracas. Russian President Vladimir Putin challenged heavy U.S. pressure on India not to buy Russian fuel if the U.S. could do so, as he began a 2-day state visit to the South Asian country. Putin spoke in comments to an Indian broadcaster aired hours after landing in New Delhi for a visit during which both countries are seeking to boost mutual trade and expand the variety of items in transaction. Putin's first visit to India in 4 years aims to increase sales of Russian oil, missile systems and fighter jets, and widen business links beyond energy and defense equipment, amid U.S. pressure on India to shun Moscow over its invasion of Ukraine. New Delhi and Moscow have strong ties going back to the days of the former Soviet Union, and Russia has been the main source of arms for India for decades. India has also emerged as the top buyer of seaborne Russian oil, despite Western sanctions imposed after Moscow launched its invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. India said Trump's tariffs are unjustified and unreasonable and pointed at ongoing U.S. trade with Moscow.
Bersihkan penapis penghawa dingin dan tetapkan 24 darjah Celsius untuk lebih jimat.
We now move on to news from China. Chinese President Xi Jinping said China and France should seize opportunities and expand the scope of cooperation. During talks with visiting French President Emmanuel Macron in Beijing on Thursday, Xi described both countries as major visionaries that serve as constructive forces in advancing multipolarity and promoting solidarity and cooperation among humanity. Xi added that China and France should demonstrate a sense of responsibility, uphold multilateralism, and stand firmly on the right side of history. He said the call comes as changes unseen in a century are accelerating, and humanity once again stands at a crossroads, facing crucial choices about its future path. Xi said China is willing to work with France to always proceed from the fundamental interests of the two peoples and the long-term interest of the international community. Macron stated that France and China maintain close high-level exchanges, always trusting and respecting each other. He said France attaches great importance to its relations with China, firmly adheres to the One China policy, and is willing to continue deepening the comprehensive strategic partnership between the two nations. Meanwhile, China's Ministry of Commerce on Thursday described the European Union's or EU's decision to end a case against China at the World Trade Organization or WTO as a right choice. The ministry said China believed that the EU's initiation of the case lacked evidence. Therefore, the EU's decision to drop the case is the right move. It added China has always strictly abided by the WTO rules and will continue to uphold the rules-based multilateral trading system through concrete actions. The EU has dropped a case at the WTO against China over its restrictions on imports of Lithuanian goods, which it believed was retribution over the Baltic state, strengthening ties with Taiwan. In 2022, the EU launched a complaint against China, saying the trade restrictions imposed over health reasons that caused Lithuanian exports to drop by 80% that year were not justified. However, the EU said last month that it no longer considers it necessary to pursue the complaint against China, as the key objectives behind the dispute have been met and relevant trade has resumed. The deadliest fire in Hong Kong in decades is piling pressure on Beijing's Patriots-only governance system, casting a shadow on elections widely seen as a further step to tighten control over the city's legislature. Sunday's vote to elect new lawmakers to Hong Kong's 90-member Legislative Council comes just 11 days after a massive fire engulfed 7 towers in a high-rise apartment complex, killing at least 159 people in the financial hub's worst blaze since 1948. With many voters in the city grown politically apathetic since China's crackdown shut out the pro-democracy camp in recent years, Sunday's turnout rate will be a key barometer of public sentiment toward the government and its handling of the fire. Some residents raised concerns among friends on social media and to reporters about government oversight in building maintenance projects and official investigation efforts. Analysts noted that about 60% of the popular vote went to the pro-democracy camp in past elections since the last legislative election in 2021. Others summarized, while some pro-government voters would be grateful for the authorities' response to the fire, there could be reservations about voting due to the systematic problems uncovered by the fire and the huge death toll. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez met Moroccan head of government Aziz Akanouch in Madrid on Thursday during the 13th high-level meeting between the two countries, aimed at strengthening bilateral ties and cooperation. Spain and Morocco signed 14 agreements covering areas such as digital transformation, modernization of public administrations, education, sport, culture, disaster prevention, agriculture and fisheries. The meeting also saw immigration as a major topic of common interest. Morocco is a key EU partner in managing irregular immigration, sharing the bloc's only land border with Africa at the Spanish exclaves of Ceuta and Melilla. Sanchez highlighted the strong human and economic links between the nations, noting that Moroccan community is the largest foreign group in Spain and the top contributor to social security with 335,000 people. The leaders also discussed plans for the 2030 FIFA World Cup, which will be jointly hosted by Spain, Portugal and Morocco. Sanchez called on businesses to seize opportunities linked to the 2030 FIFA World Cup, which Spain and Morocco will co-host with Portugal.
Program Rancakan Madani bersama Malaysiaku dan Konvensyen Nasional Reformasi Perkhidmatan Awam 2025 akan diadakan pada 5 hingga 7 Disember 2025 bertempat di pekarangan Dataran Putrajaya, Putrajaya. Pelbagai perkhidmatan turut dibawa kepada orang awam. Orang ramai berpeluang untuk mengambil bahagian dalam pelbagai segmen interaktif yang disediakan, termasuklah peluang kerjaya, jualan usahawan, pameran, persembahan kebudayaan, isukan dan gerai-gerai makanan untuk dinikmati seisi keluarga.
Coming up, Trump replaces architect overseeing $300 million gilded ballroom project.
Tutup tingkap dan pintu untuk kekal dingin dan lebih jimat.
Welcome back to World Today. The Department of Homeland Security's immigration crackdown continued in the New Orleans metro on Thursday. Protests have disrupted city council proceedings as law enforcement agents were spotted around the metro. About 30 people were removed from City Hall as a result. City Council members have spoken out against DHS's actions as demonstrators protested the collaboration with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Both Border Patrol and ICE, or ICE, are under DHS purview, though Border Patrol is leading the operation. New Orleans Police Superintendent Ann Kirkpatrick said her department won't assist in the crackdown because immigration is a civil rather than a criminal issue. Though DHS has not yet shared the total number of people its agents have detained locally. A press release on Thursday said agents have made dozens of arrests, including a handful it highlighted for having criminal backgrounds. United States President Donald Trump has hired a new architect for his $300 million White House ballroom after reported disagreements with the project's original designer. Trump had differences with James McCreary, a specialist in classical architecture, including over the billionaire president's wishes to increase the size of the ballroom. Architect Shalom Baranes will take over as the lead on the project from James McCreary, who will remain as a consultant. It was reported that McCreary had advised restraint to prevent the new ballroom from dwarfing the existing White House structure. The firm has previously worked on projects including the modernization of the U.S. Treasury building near the White House and renovating the Pentagon after the 11th of September 2001 attacks. Trump has demolished the entire east wing of the White House to make way for a ballroom that he says will have a capacity of 1,000 people. His plans have sparked concerns that the new building could overshadow the main presidential mansion itself, one of the world's most recognizable landmarks. The project, which Trump says will be fully privately funded, has yet to undergo any public review. The two front-runners in Honduras's presidential election are still neck and neck as the vote count enters its fourth day. With just over 84% of the votes counted, conservative candidate Nasri Asfoura, who has the backing of U.S. President Donald Trump, moved ahead of centrist TV presenter Salvador Nasrallah, but the difference between the two is minimal at just 0.3 percentage points. The Electoral Council has urged Hondurans to be patient, and police have increased security around the hotel where the votes are being tallied. Election officials could not contain their anger when the count grounded to a halt again for several hours on Wednesday. The president of the National Electoral Council, CNE, Ana Paola Hall, blamed the private company tasked with tabulating the results for the delay. She said the firm had carried out maintenance without warning or checking with the CNE. The stoppage came a day after the portal displaying real-time results had crashed. The earlier preliminary reports by the CNE released on Monday had shown Nasri Asfoura in the lead. Venezuelan Vice President Delcy Rodriguez on Thursday presented the government's 2026 budget proposal to the National Assembly, urging lawmakers to approve spending of some $19.9 billion. According to Rodriguez, nearly 78% of the funding would be spent on social programs.
Tiene previsto y contemplado los recursos que se requieren para la seguridad y para la defensa de Venezuela, para la defensa de nuestra integridad territorial, para la defensa de la soberanía nacional y, lo más importante, para la defensa de nuestra dignidad histórica.
The OPEC countries' oil production rose to 1.17 million barrels per day, or BPD, in November from 1.13 million BPD the previous month. Output of refined products, meanwhile, averaged 174,800 BPD in October, an increase from 146,200 BPD in September. Tunisian police on Thursday arrested top opposition figure Najib Chebi to enforce a 12-year jail term on a conviction for conspiracy, the latest sign of an escalating crackdown on political dissent by President Kais Saied. Chebi, 82, has been a prominent opposition figure since the 1970s throughout the autocratic presidencies of Habib Bourguiba, the country's first leader, and Zine El Abidine Ben Ali, who was toppled in 2011 pro-democracy uprising. Last week, an appeals court handed jail terms of up to 45 years to dozens of opposition leaders, including Chebi, business figures and lawyers on charges of conspiracy to overthrow Saied, in a move critics say underline his increasingly authoritarian rule. Police have also arrested Terima to enforce a 20-year prison sentence, as well as opposition lawyer Ayachi Hamami, who received a 5-year term in the same case. Spain increased the number of law enforcement agents working on controlling the spread of African swine fever outbreak and curbing its wild boar population to around 1,000 on Thursday. According to Catalonia's top agriculture official, Oscar Ordige, canine teams from Andorra and Madrid had joined the operation, working around the closed-off region in Cerdana, Yola del Valles. Spain's Catalonia region has pledged to curb its wild boar population, including by ramping up culls, after African swine fever was detected in several animals outside Barcelona in the country's first outbreak since 1994. The development has threatened pork exports from Spain, the European Union's leading producer of the meat, which accounts for a quarter of the bloc's output, with annual exports worth about 3.5 billion euros. The outbreak was first detected last week in 2 wild boars in the Col Sarola mountain range outside Barcelona. 7 more boars in the same area have since been confirmed to have died from the disease. In sports, BAM sets 4-goal target for SEA Games Thailand 2025.
Sukan SEA Thailand 2025. Jangan lupa saksikannya hanya di RTM. Yahoo! Semangatnya sudah terasa. Nantikannya hanya di RTM. Penyiar Rasmi.
Hello again. The national badminton camp is targeting 7 medals, including 4 gold at the 2025 SEA Games in Bangkok, Thailand. The Academy Badminton Malaysia, or ABM, Director of Doubles Coaching, Rexy Mainaki, said the target is considered realistic based on the players' recent performances and their head-to-head records against key regional rivals.
If we talk about we have to talk about realistic, yeah. Like at first, when the team events, we target is not the gold, because we thought that Indonesia will come out with a strong team like Jonathan, all this, and then Thailand as the host, yeah. But when they come out, I'm not put like said like easy to win in Indonesia 2 doubles or whatever, but we have to be realistic.
Malaysia's main strength lies in its 2 elite men's doubles pairs, Aaron Chia and Su Woo Yik, and Man Wei Cheong and T Kai Wun. The national squad will also feature a mix of senior players and rising talents, including Leong Jun Hao, Justin Ho, as well as the mixed doubles pair, Chen Tang Ji and To Yi Wei. In the women's category, the main hopes rest on Pearly Tan and M. Tina, along with Kay Lechana and Wong Ling Ching, who are expected to shoulder the challenge in the singles events. Meanwhile, the national women's hockey squad has set a mission to defend the gold medal in this edition. The event, scheduled to be held at the National Sports University in Chonburi, also serves as an important platform for Malaysia to further strengthen its dominance in the South Asian region. Head coach Muhammad Nasihin Nobli Ibrahim said the national team will feature experienced players aged 21 and above, as 7 young players are currently competing in the Under-21 Junior World Cup in Chile. He stressed that the absence of the 7 younger players does not weaken the team, as every listed player has extensive experience on the international stage. Malaysia will open their campaign against Singapore, followed by Indonesia and hosts Thailand. Only 4 countries are competing in the women's event: Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore and Indonesia. Based on world rankings, Malaysia are placed 22nd, ahead of all their opponents, and are expected to be capable of retaining the gold medal. Our young Tigers conceded another defeat in the 2025 Junior Hockey World Cup yesterday. Their hopes of breaking into the top 10 were dashed after a 1-3 loss to South Africa in the classification match for 9th to 16th place at Mayor Radhakrishnan Stadium in Chennai. Although Malaysia controlled the tempo of the game, 3 penalty corner, or PC, strikes from South Africa proved to be the deciding factor. South Africa took the lead through Jaden Brooker in the 18th minute before he repeated the feat in the 39th minute. Malaysia attempted a comeback when Muhammad Akil Daniel converted a PC in the 48th minute to narrow the gap 1-2. However, the goal was not enough to change the momentum of the match. With just 2 minutes remaining, Ross Montgomery punished Malaysia once again, also from a penalty corner, sealing a gloomy day for the young Tigers.
Tapi kita tak ada pemain di atas itu yang buat penjudahan, smart enough to get PC, sabar, get something. Out of shot at goal, mungkin dia dapat PC, mungkin dia dapat something kan. We don't have that player. Kita tak ada kategori itu. Saya rasa ini antara punca kenapa kita tak dapat result dalam 2 game England dan juga South Africa ni.
Malaysia are now dragged into the lower brackets and will compete to determine positions 13 to 16. And that concludes World Today. In our top story, Israel launches new attacks on southern Lebanon. Tune in to Malaysia Tonight coming up at 8:30 p.m. on TV1 and saluran Berita RTM. Alternatively, you can stream us live on RTM Click's website or mobile application. We leave you with visuals of Brixen, a town in the Italian Alps that marked the 10th anniversary of its winter light shows with a new production created in collaboration with UNICEF. Till then, my name is Jarrah Baptist. Salam Malaysia Madani.